Greetings, disruptors. It is Coach Selena, aka the Disruptor Coach, and I am here with one of my colleagues, Coach Stephanie, and she is with Livewire Coaching and Consulting.
Yes, yes, yes.
So thank you for being here, Stephanie. And we
Oh,
just,
thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this.
me too, we're going to get into it. I feel like it's a little spicy because we're talking about introverts, right? So let me ask you, how do you show up in the world, Miss Stephanie?
I show up sassy.
Oh, oh, you sassy.
Well, I'm
Oh,
sassy,
I love
which
you. What
shocks
does
people because you think introvert, she can't be sassy. But I can tell you how I start off my podcast when you want to hear it. I'll tell
let's
you how
let's
how I
lean
start
right
it.
on into it. How do you start off your podcast?
I'm not shy, timid, or needing to be fixed. I'm an introvert, and that is my superpower. Introverted, AFF. Absolutely fabulous and feisty.
I love it. I love it. I was having a conversation with a friend about 2 weeks ago, a male friend, and we talked for 3 hours. First of all, I was shocked. We hadn't talked in years, and I mean, probably at least a decade. But I was surprised that we talked that long. And he said most people think introverts don't like to talk. He said introverts don't like small talk. And
We
that,
don't do well. We don't
that,
do well with small talk. Now, I like to not put boxes around it either,
mhm,
because there are cases that I can speak in a large group and on stages and do amazing, but then when you get in those small groups, they just totally suck the life out of me.
mhm.
When I get with my introvert friends, bing 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 bing, like it's a whole different energy, Selena.
And that's what was happening. We were having a deep conversation and it had levels to it. Next thing you know, we are 3 hours in. So I was like,
We're not gonna
oh,
be 3 hours in
we're
tonight.
not going to be three. Okay. Okay. If you say so. Stranger things have happened on this show. We had the conversation and then we had the after
The
conversation.
after
And
conversation.
I was cracking up because she was like, I gotta go. I'm gonna watch the Oscars. And then after we wrapped, she was like, now we can go again. So then there was after. So I was like, okay. Hey, I'm just here to do what the Lord has called me to do. So I'm showing up. So you show up in the world as a sassy introvert. Is there anything else you would like to share on how you show up in the world?
I also show up as empath an empath.
Mm.
And one of the things I adopted, I'm not the originator, but it resonated with me in
Hmm.
terms of my coaching, is I help powerful people remember how powerful they are.
Ooh, I love that. So let's stay in that vein. Tell us a little bit more about your coaching. How did you become a coach and why?
I became a coach because of the impact on me having a coach.
Mm,
And it totally helped me shift from sitting on the sidelines as a leader and a manager to really being present with the people that I led.
mm,
And it started with me. And that shift, if I could get that shift for myself, then I became driven to see how I can become more equipped to help others see that type of change and growth and light in themselves.
mm. And what specifically does that look like? What was the shift?
I was doing all the things, but I was disconnected. And that's why alignment is so important. I was
Hmm.
being the mom, I was being the wife, I was being the leader, but it was doing going through the motions
Yeah.
because I separated so that, life happens to you. So I
Mm,
separated opportunity to get in too deep because I didn't want to be hurt. And when you bring your heart to the party, there's a tendency it might get a little wounded, a little bruised, a little beat up. So I
mm,
was disconnected. And the thing that I had to do was reconnect. Like I know that sounds cliche-ish, but okay, I'm no longer on the sidelines. I got to show up. I got
mm.
to be in it. I got to feel it. I got to go through it. I got to flow through it.
So let's be clear, because this feels similar to my journey to me as you say this. What were you disconnected from?
I was a manager, a senior manager, but I wasn't really engaged in the lives or the helping my team to grow. I was
Mm,
just going by what I had seen from other people.
Ashe. Okay.
I was a mom who was trying to do it right, but afraid of doing it wrong. So that led to being paralyzed in some aspects
Mm,
and being a wife and figuring out how to be a mom and a wife and high pot, how to be all those things. And instead of moving forward, not knowing, unsure, lack of confidence,
mm.
not really doing any of it well.
Oh, okay. Get that. And so is that what led to you then getting the coach? How did you figure out you were disconnected and weren't doing it well? What led to that?
What led to that was there was a defining moment that I got really sick
Mm.
because I was holding everything in and ended up in the emergency room,
Oh no.
and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I had to choose. I had to choose. I was like, if dying hurts like this, I think I'm going to live. So let's be about figuring out how to live and what does that look like. That
Mm,
was one of the defining points. And the other defining point, because sometimes I'm hard headed, I don't always get it the first time, is when as a manager, I'm sitting in the room and I'm not proud of this, okay, but I'm gonna share it in hopes that it will encourage someone. I'm sitting in the room. I'm a new manager. I know my style is, my heart. I'm getting it. I'm starting to be a better person, a better coach, but I'm still trying to act like the other managers. Sitting in
mm.
the room, sitting on a table in the group meeting, and I looked at my group and I said, "Your job is to make me look better." And the look on their faces was like I was looking into disappointment, as if because they knew me.
Hmm.
And it's almost like they thought, well, who is this person talking?
Right.
And so when I saw that look on their face, I said, oh no.
Mm.
Oh no. This is not you, Stephanie. You need to figure out how you lead, how you encourage, who you are, and lead from that place.
Yeah. That's powerful for you to lean in and recognize. And it sounds to me that you became very present once you could see the looks on their face.
That did it. That
Yeah.
that really cemented it.
So how can introverts leverage alignment marketing without feeling drained by traditional marketing tactics? Lean into that a little.
So let's talk about marketing in general. So I've had a brick and mortar business. I've done some things in network marketing, affiliate marketing, along with my coaching. And a lot of the mentoring I got was, I call it, very jazz hands in your face. Like, you know, go get them. If they're breathing, share it with them. If they're breathing, talk to them. If they're breathing, they're your customer. And that alone, one, it's not in alignment with who an introvert is.
Mm,
But if you don't know who you are and you don't buy into who you are and you buy into what others have told you,
yeah.
then you're off base. You're totally off base. So you really want to be clear on who am I?
I'm taking notes, by the way.
And it starts with core values. That's one of the things that I start with my clients is who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you? What do you stand for? Whether they're on the corporate side or on the business side, it starts with who are you? Because you're going to attract who you are,
Mm.
not who you're trying to be. You're going to attract who you are. So you want to be clear about who you are.
And what does that process look like when you're working with the client for them to figure out who they are? That sounds very introspective.
It is. It is. And that is where I tap into one of the gifts that introverts are known for having is that ability to be introspective.
Uh, okay.
And it's simple from the standpoint of now I will say what I'm sharing, it doesn't have to be applied to an introvert. Extroverts need love too. Woo woo woo. We'll give you guys some too. It's about sitting in front of it can be as easy as sitting in front of a list of core values, like a long list that you can get and saying, okay, what are my top? What are my top five?
Okay.
What is important to me? And picking out what is important. Because when you sit quiet, you know when that hair stands up on the back of your neck when you're like, oh, that person just rubs me the wrong way. Oh my gosh, we're so a lot of times it's a colliding against one of your core values.
Mm-hmm. And so once they know who they are and they've done the introspection, how does that play into marketing?
Yep. So one of the ways that plays in is I know who I am. So now I can start to communicate with my voice because I know who I am. So
So,
I'm not trying to be someone else and I am good with who I am. That is where it starts to play into it is I know who I am. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm wanting to hold my space and stand in that space. And it's easier said than done.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I just had a conversation earlier with a coach friend um, that is apprehensive about social media because who they are in real life, she feels is like she would be different on social media
Mhm.
because she's, kind of in your face and um, she has different views than folks in the town that she
Mhm.
is. So there's a concern when she runs into these people in town that there'll be some kind of feelings about what she said on social media because
And
they're
you have to make I choose what I say. I choose how I show up on social media.
Mhm,
And part of really understanding and that being alignment, I'd like to think that when people meet me in person, I'm pretty close to the person that you see on social media. Now you're not gonna know my whole life story, where I was born, where I was grew up, and all the everything. But I'd like to think that it's consistent, the message that I show up on social media, if I'm in a networking community, that there should be some similarities there. And if there's a disconnect,
mhm.
it comes across in your marketing because customers can smell when you're not congruent. They can smell it. It's repelling. They can smell it. So whether they like me or not,
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that they will say, well, dang, she is consistent. When she talks about this, she's consistent. Her voice is consistent. That's being in alignment.
Yeah, that was the exact word that popped in my head when you were describing it. Is like, okay, they're not congruent. So we're so in sync here. I'd like to do two things. I'd like to
Okay.
define what an introvert is, and I'd like to
Okay.
define marketing
Okay.
because I feel if you had not told me, I wouldn't have thought you were an introvert, right? So I'm like, well, what is an introvert?
There is the big distinguisher is an introvert gets their energy and revitalize being alone. That's the big definition.
Okay.
An extrovert tends to be around people and get energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
An introvert tends to retreat and is more energized. And an
Hmm.
introvert can like people. Okay.
Can like people.
Can
Okay.
like people. However, it's draining to be around people. So
Mhm.
if I go and possibly after we get done with our interview, I might be tired and I'll go and I'll sit and I'll relax for an hour.
Mhm.
Anytime I've done a talk on stage, it's been great. Okay, I need to go and reset.
I
Or
understand.
in a large group, I have I have amazing community that know me. And if I
Mhm.
disappear, they're okay. They know that she'll be back. She just
Right.
needs to recharge. So that's the biggest, most identifiable way to tell the difference. And some introverts are better at being around people than others. Like it's so many different spectrums. Some are super, super reserved.
Mhm.
Okay. And some are more like me who can extrovert very well, right? I can go in and because I'm curious about people and how they're wired and what makes them think and
That.
meeting new people. I'm curious.
When's your birthday? What's your sign, girl? You're an empath. You're curious. You're giving me Pisces energy. Like, what's going on here?
Close to Pisces, but Aquarius is better.
I don't know. Mhm. There's a big debate about that.
Close to it,
But
close
we're
to it.
in the neighborhood.
We're in the neighborhood. We won't even get into that debate, okay? Because we got a little water, got a fish. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm not gonna, this is no judgment zone, but I'm just gonna say we got a water, we got a fish.
Right. We
Just
don't
leave it.
judge.
We just
Yes,
leave it
ma'am.
there.
So
And then you asked me about marketing.
marketing, yeah, and it's funny because as you're talking about the introvert, I got all these little versions of friends that popped up in my head from what you described. It's like, oh, hmm. So it's hilarious to me.
Uh, for me, marketing, I have several coaches. I have a coach that helps me with my mindset. I have a coach that helps with sales. I'm a big proponent of coaching. I think everybody needs a coach. Not, and it does, I'm not saying that I need to be your coach. I say as you're growing professionally and personally, coaching is a great way to help you move forward. So shout out to all my coach friends. I got amazing coach friends. And my coach that really helped me with mindset, she said marketing is preparing people to buy.
Mm.
It's different from sales, but it's preparing people to buy. So it's getting people used to hearing my conversation. It's having people develop a know, like, trust factor so that they would like to hear from me or they feel like I am their person that they come to. That's the marketing, just being out there. Sometimes there's an offer and sometimes they're not, but it's really preparing them and building that relationship so that when they have a need, you're the top of mind.
Ah. Okay. Yeah, I've heard it in different ways. I've heard it. I'm more of the mindset around that as it's storytelling. That's what appeals to
Hmm.
me, sharing your story. And the same thing happens, right? No, like
Right.
what hmm
Yes. Yes.
yeah. I love that. And how long have you been doing this?
Okay. Oh my. Coaching or doing what?
So,
I've been coaching a long time, and by long, I think I started in 2005. I started out with a focus on
hmm
life and wellness coaching,
hmm
and that was how I started the journey. And then as it evolved in my life, I became more focused on leaders and business owners because there's a gap that's missing,
mm,
them needing someone to communicate with that gets them and
hmm
that will be in their face a little bit,
Be sassy.
be a little sassy. Because when
Uh,
you work with high achievers, you got to bring it because they're used to, they're not necessarily used to people standing, shoulder to shoulder with them. So you got to be able to stand in your own space, right? You got to know who you are and know that, okay, yeah, I get you. Yep, you're super duper important, but here's where you're tripping up and getting in your own way. So
right.
you got to be able to hold that space.
W- And so you started off life and wellness. How
That's
how how did you end up focusing on marketing?
how did I end up focusing on marketing? Is because once I knew who I was,
hmm
then it really became about marketing my business as me. It became about marketing my skill set as a leader because
hmm
uh, whether you know it or not, inside corporate environments, you still have to market yourself. You still have to know who you are to get promoted to different levels of leadership.
Is that like your personal brand? Like you have a personal brand? Is that the same thing?
It it can be a personal brand. It can be a personal brand. It could be a brand. It could be a brand. Like people
Like you're the brand, right? If you,
right,
right?
exactly. You are, yes, yes, you are the brand.
Uh,
Period. And that's I'm glad you mentioned that too, because a lot of business owners don't understand that. They like to go outside to all the fancy schmancy slogans and all of that, but
mhm.
really you are the brand.
Mm. If you're the entrepreneur, or is that because you're the founder, or what would make me the brand?
So if you're a solopreneur,
hmm
you're the face of the business.
Got it.
So you're the brand. Now, as you start to grow, to build, to scale, it's less about my face, right? As I grow and I build and scale, it's less about my face. It's less about your face as you expand. But the
hmm
heart of why you created it, coming back to core values, becomes part of that brand. And that part doesn't change. Like the face may change on the marketing because we got a team of 10, but they still should know what we stand for. As Livewire expands, they'll still know what we stand for.
Well, that's a good segue. What does Livewire stand for?
By background, I
hmm
am a electrical engineer,
Oh,
and I was always fascinated. I work for the power company, and I was always fascinated that if you hold on to a wire, but you're not grounded, you won't get electrocuted.
what?
So if you hold the wire and you're not grounded, you won't get electrocuted. But
What?
it's a live wire. But the point that you become
Gotta
grounded,
get down.
the point that you become, okay, because birds sit up there.
Yeah.
They don't all get electrocuted.
Shut up.
But the minute you pick it up and you plug it into a source, the ground, something else, it reaches its full potential. So the people that I serve are typically full of potential. They just need a little help connecting into who they are.
Oh, woo, that's good.
And
That's
that's live
good.
wire.
Which is
That in essence is
why.
live wire.
Woo, girl, you picking them up and putting them down now. Okay. Okay. I hope y'all caught that. You are not fully in alignment until you step into your full potential.
Yes.
You got to get grounded in who you are. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that so much.
Mhm.
So I have I know that there are, when it comes to small business, that specifically Black women are like leading the pack when it comes to founding small businesses.
Yes.
Is there any potential like struggle with them showing up in their full power? I happen to know a little bit about, Black women. And so I'm just curious from that perspective, like, and maybe could you share like typically what type of entrepreneur are you working with?
I have um, several client thinking about, a couple of client CEOs that I work with, some franchise owners that I work with that, specifically came to me for marketing and really refining their thinking and their strategy, um, helping them come up with their ideal customer blueprint, which comes out of understanding who they are.
Mhm.
And they are extremely powerful, but unclear. And so that is the biggest piece of I do is I help them develop clarity. And once we do that, other things start to happen. Then again, they can show up. They don't mind being visible. They are able to use their voice because they're not muffling their voice out of uncertainty, and they don't they're strong in who they are.
Mm,
And I've seen when that happens with a lot of my clients. I have clients both Black and white, mostly women,
mm-hmm.
and they don't, once they get it, once they get clear,
Learning, yeah.
things start to shift for them. And that's what I've seen. And at the same time, like you said, I am surrounded by some amazing, amazing, talented, entrepreneurial women. They are just, and that's part of your community and your network, right? You
Mhm.
keep getting in those places around people who you're not always the smartest person in the room on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you fill in pieces like puzzle pieces, and everybody rises.
Shay, I love that. So, with that being said, I am known as the disruptor coach. And you may have touched on it a little bit because you talked about being in the hospital, but I'm just curious. I like to ask, what in your life did you have to disrupt?
Hmm. I had to I had to disrupt that feeling that I was invisible. I have a amazing, again, I have such a good community. A good friend of mine is a coach also. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna shout her out. Latasha White. And there are some people that just drop it in and they know that you have they and you know that they have your best interests and they wouldn't tell you things to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And she just dropped in passing. Gotta love those boulders. They just drop in there and run. She
My
said,
client says that. Call
she
them
said,
boulders, but I'm tracking.
she said,
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, stop hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay.
Mm.
That that is something that I had to, that was a disrupt.
What did that look like for you? How were you hiding in plain sight?
At the time, I wasn't really being bold on social media. I had not started a podcast. I had not written books. Um, I was hiding behind other people
Mm.
instead of taking the platform. All the genius was there, but I was keeping it to myself.
Mm.
And that is not what we're called to do. Not called to have the talent and bury the talent.
Mm.
I did not want to be held, and I still don't want to be held for, or at that point of being told, Stephanie, I gave you this talent to help business owners, to help others find their voice, to help them be more visible, and you buried it. And
Mm.
because you buried it, this person's message didn't get heard because I put you in their life to be that one to help them to step up, but you didn't show up.
Mm. Mm. That's rich. And I got the download to start the podcast, Coaching Conversations, for that to be that bridge to help
Mm.
people that are called to coaching or teachers to be able to share their stories so that the sheep that they are called to serve could hear them, to know that hey, you're the one.
Mm.
So this just fits so perfectly in you using your voice. How did you do that? How were you able to stop hiding in plain sight, ma'am? What happened?
I started saying yes to things that scared me
Mm,
and being, instead of waiting for me to always have the confidence to do things, I look back and throughout my life, there's been threads of, but you didn't know how, but you were courageous.
mm.
How, but you were courageous.
Oh, you had some evidence.
So it started to build, and I would do more and more things that were clearly. When I started my podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. Zero, zilch. Ultimately, I got the download that said start a podcast. I said, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't know what I'm doing.
Uh-oh.
And then I got the other message that said start a podcast. I said, okay, I'm going to start a podcast. So I think if that was one thing that helped move me through was finding a way to be courageous even in the smallest of steps. And I share that with my clients. Is I'm not looking, and give yourself grace. Don't look for that big mountaintop experience.
Mm-hmm.
Look for that very first step that you can take that gives you the courage to take the next step.
Mm-hmm. I heard a couple of things in there. You followed your intuition because you got the download. Then you made a decision to be courageous. And then you took the first next
First
step.
step, the first step.
I love that. I love that. So those three things helped you stop hiding in plain sight.
Yes. And it's still ongoing, right? It's not the journey isn't complete because I
Hmm.
continue to get opportunities to expand expand my audience and grow my influence and grow my impact.
Well, tell us a little bit. You're on my podcast and you mentioned your podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast is Quiet Impact Podcast.
Quiet Impact.
Quiet Impact Podcast.
Ooh, why Quiet Impact?
It is created to nurture, equip, empower, inspire quiet achievers, which
Mm,
that is my term for introverts, is that group of quiet achievers. We may not always be the loudest person in the room, but that doesn't discount the impact. And so I cater to inspiring them because I am one of them. And
hmm.
so that is how my podcast is set up.
So where can they find you?
You can find the podcast on YouTube at the Quiet Impact podcast.com, but it's on YouTube if you look for it there. And it's also on the major Spotify, um,
Oh,
Amazon, Apple. It's also on those as well. I encourage you to check it out. And it's some interesting episodes on there.
tell us about what you got on there.
Oh, how one of them is about my journey trying out for Annie. Um,
Maybe like it's in the movie?
Annie is in the movie, the old movie. Hmm.
Really?
Yeah, with Telly Savalas and Carol Burnett. So you have to go and check that one out. One of the other experiences is on a yacht club and how that all came about. There's experience in there on the journey to being an entrepreneur and how that looks.
Mm,
And there are some episodes in there on how to be a more impactful leader as well. So
mm.
you have some that you can listen to see what it looks like to behind the scenes of Stephanie Oden because it's on me. And one of the other things that I started to do also is highlight other quiet achievers, and so some of my clients, some of my colleagues start to do interviews with them because I want to let people know that it's we're here, like you said, it's amazing talent, amazing entrepreneurs out here. And I've started to spotlight some of them on my podcast.
I love that. I love that. Do you have a specific day and time that you are live that they can find you?
I am, I release my episodes on Thursdays. So Thursday mornings typically is when the new episodes drop.
Awesome. Oh, we got some folks tagging along, following us. Drop any questions that you have. If you have any questions for Stephanie, I see Toxi, Toxil Anna Taylor.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
for being here. You know her?
Excellent. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you.
We've got Cicely. Hi, Cicely. Loving the vulnerability and honesty of this compo. We
Oh,
appreciate
wow.
you being here. We've got Beverly Samuel. She said, I agree. We have to stay in alignment with our core selves. An
Mm.
introvert isn't necessarily shy. I describe myself as a shy introvert. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Let us know if you've got any questions. Appreciate that. So, what let's talk about a little bit about you personally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we haven't talked any of that stuff.
Let's do some of that. So, what is one thing people don't know about you that you open and share?
Well, if I share it, then it'll be open. Okay. Um, I am eh, I am a cut up.
Oh, I think people know that about you. You've only been on here 15 minutes, and I know that about you. You
Um,
are a stud for real. I'm still questioning the introvert part. We started off
okay.
with sassy.
Right, right. It goes downhill from there. Um,
What makes you a cut up?
it God made me funny,
Mm.
and not funny comedian funny, but
Mm-hmm.
funny to be able to help uh, liven up heavy hearts.
Mm.
And he gave me that humor, and that's one of the things that I naturally do. Um, and just some of the things I'm like quick-witted, some of the things I make up in the moment. Yeah, I make up words.
Oh,
And they are not real words. I just make them up.
you call that IP girl. That's some intellectual property. If you making up new words.
Make up word. If you put ability on the back of anything, it makes it a new word. Okay. Or ism. Either
She
put ability or ism on the back of it, it makes it a new word. That's the rule. Oh my. Oh, something that people don't know. Oh my gosh, Selena. All the things I'm thinking, the people that know me, they know that I like purple and um, oh my. Oh my.
We'll come back. It'll
We
probably
really need to come back to that because I'm
it'll
thinking, what
probably
is
hit you
it?
in the middle of the next question.
I know it will. Ask me another question and I'll come back to um uh, okay. I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like social media.
Mm.
I do it because it's an effective way to market and to create a relationship with people who don't know me, but it's extremely draining and a lot of negativity can come through that mode.
Mm-hmm.
So people see me on there and they think, oh, you do love it. No, I really don't. But starting out, when I started out and I had to pay $1,000 for a 30-second ad on the radio that nobody would hear anyway,
Mm.
compared to what it cost me to be on social media,
Right.
I will take that. I think that's probably something that most people don't know about me. And that helps me be relatable though when I'm working with clients,
Mm-hmm.
especially my quiet achievers, those that are a little bit more intimidated by social media, is I can relate to them because I get that struggle. And we find a place for them to operate. So I think that would be the thing that most people wouldn't know about me.
I love that. I love how you said you found a place for those quiet achievers to operate.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That sounds like some secret sauce energy.
Secret sauce, secret sauce. We got the
Mhm.
secret sauce.
Would you share a time when you felt pressured to be more of an extrovert, and how did you handle it?
Early on in my business,
Mm-hmm.
the mentoring that I got at the time was you just need to be out there. Just be out there more. Just be louder. Be
Mm.
out there more. And it didn't really pay attention to the relational side and the relationship side.
Yeah.
And I went along with that for a while, but I wasn't making headway. I wasn't making money. And I wasn't because I was not congruent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even if people don't say what it is, they pick up that you're not, it's like that, something is off. Like, I don't know what it is, but something is off. And that's that. When I got that, I said, no, I'm not going to do it like that anymore.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with those mentors. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm responsible for my response.
Ashe.
So there is nothing wrong with those mentors. However, you find mentors that are that that come to you that are will attract who we are, right?
Hmm.
So being in alignment and don't necessarily go for the loudest or the most popular. Go for the ones that you're in alignment with, that you can make the greatest impact with. And that's what I did. I had to change who I was looking to for mentorship. Again, nothing wrong with them. They're amazing.
Right.
They're doing it their way.
What what did how did you know you were in alignment? How did you find the people to be in alignment with?
When I had mentors that would say, "Oh no, you should not talk to introverts because that's too narrow a niche."
Really?
Oh, okay. I don't think we're in alignment because this is who I'm supposed to work with. And so that's great, but you're not the right we're not the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's the ones, and because I am a coach, there's a line that we hold of, even though we see the potential in people, it's up to them to get to that awareness point that they see it, but we hold a space. It
Absolutely.
is never our job as a coach to change anybody from who they are at their core. That is not our role as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That again, that's just a Stephanieism. Okay, just talking. That is not my role. My role is to see the amazing person that you are and hold a space and ask the right questions as you evolve and get to that space and you can see it too.
Ashe. Yeah, for sure. That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. What are you most proud about in your transformation?
I am proud that I continue to uncover layers of who I am. Like, I'm not arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud that I have an awareness that I can continue to learn different things about myself.
Mm-hmm. I love that for you.
I like that. Now, some of them are painful as I learn them, but that is something that I'm really proud of, that I continue to become unraveled. And some of that's my faith walk, right? That things are discerned, like downloads happen, I get put in check. But I am proud that I'm able to take that information and process it and do something different. That is something that I'm proud of on the spiritual level. The other things, the books, the certifications, and all of that, it's a byproduct
Mm-hmm.
of the growth that happens on the inside. And that's the big part I'm proud of.
I love that so much for you because that's what it's all about. You growing into your full self so the people that you're called to serve can do the same. I love that. I love that for you. If you could give one piece of advice to an introvert struggling with visibility or confidence, what would it be?
Call me. Here's my number and a dime. Call me anytime. No, call me. Uh, I would tell you, give yourself grace. and take time to appreciate who you are as you are.
That's good. That's good, sis. And then call you.
And then call me.
I
Because
love
sometimes it just helps. I mean, that's something that as your listeners, they can, I do, as most of us as coaches do, we do offer conversations
Mm-hmm.
that you can um, see if there's even a fit. And I do things like that. And
Okay.
I don't want you to that introvert. I
Mm-hmm.
mean that. I want you to sit with yourself and say, you know what? I am proud of you, sis. I'm proud of you, sir. Because everything you've gone through, you still show up. Not as powerful as you will, but you're showing up right now.
That's good, Stephanie. That's so good. Is there a personal story, book, podcast, something that changed your life that you're willing to share that would might help others?
I read a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's seasons of books that I think the one that was the biggest shifter was Purpose Driven Life. Uh,
Hmm. I read that
that one was one of the big ones that was a shift.
by Rick Warren.
That was a big one. Um, John Maxwell's A Life of Intentional Living, I think is the name of it. That was another big one for me. And um, Selling from Your Comfort Zone is a great one. I like that one because um, I am one of the thought leaders that was interviewed for that book.
Hmm.
And it really speaks to how to a lot of what we've talked about, like being in alignment and finding your voice and connecting in that way. And I share my perspective on how to do that as an introvert. And so that is another one that I would recommend that was pivotal.
Who's the author on that one?
Stacy Hall.
Awesome. Anything else? Podcast or
Podcast. There's this podcast that's really good that's out there called the Quiet Impact Podcast. I think
oh,
it's really good and you should check it out.
okay.
And there's this other one called
Uh-huh.
Disruptor Coaching Podcast. I think you should check that out too, because those are some great, amazing podcasts that people need to listen to. There's others because there's a lot of influencers out there. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, Ed Milet, I really enjoy his podcast. Um,
What's his topic? I have not heard of it.
he does his main theme is around the power of one more,
Oh,
and it's a good one as well. Books, Power Moves. Um,
yep. Sarah
That
Jake.
that means I cannot leave her out because that is transformational. Um, Sarah Jakes Roberts, that's a great book that will align with anywhere you are in your journey. That's
Hmm.
another one that I would highlight
It's
as
in
well.
my Audible list. I haven't listened to it yet. There's, like you said, there's so
It's
many.
so many books
What would you say was one nugget that you took away from Power Moves?
that God has a way of showing up and equipping us and reminding us that he's already equipped us for what we are called to be.
Mm.
Now, that was my takeaway. I encourage everybody else, I encourage people to get the book and have your own takeaway.
Mhm.
That's where the meat is. It-
Shay,
it's take mine, put a little pin by it, but have your experience because you know where you are in your journey. And so that download will come in right where you need it to help you move forward.
I love that. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share that maybe I did not ask? Where can the people find you? That's probably the better question before we get there. How and where can the folks find you?
The best way to find me is go to my website, stephanieoden.com. And from there, you can see the resources that I have available. You can get plugged into the podcast. You can find out how to find me on social media. And there's some gifts out there for introvert achievers when you go to the website. So go to the website, stephanieoden.com, and that's where you can get the information.
What's one of the gifts that they can find out there for them?
I have a success pillars for quiet achievers that will give them a way holistically to stay empowered and connected and balanced and regenerate.
Mm,
It's a little resource that they can download and use that in a daily basis.
I love that. I loved how you say quiet achievers. That's powerful. You hear the word high achievers all the time, but quiet achievers just seems like it has such a power to it, more so than high achievers. I like that. I'm wondering if I could be a quiet achiever.
I,
I'm
I,
not that quiet though. I'm a little bit disruptive. I'm I'm
you
not meant
are
to be,
disruptive. You're
I am
very
not meant to be
disruptive.
quiet at all. I thought about it for half a second and
Right. That's how you know. If you
now
think about it for half a second, you're like, no, that's not me.
no, that
I
don't
don't
hit
think
right.
that's me. I don't right. That
Don't hit
would
right.
not be you. That would not be you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed it so much. I do appreciate you having me on and having this conversation. And we just connected and I really I'm thankful for that. And we're looking forward to some for your guests. We're looking forward to collaborating and getting you on the Quiet Impact podcast to have some really good conversations around um, empaths and introverts and relationships and that whole piece. So I'm looking forward to us having those conversations.
I am so looking forward. I cannot wait.
Even though you're a disruptor, I still want to have you bring that powerful message that you have from your gifting to because I want to empower, right? I want to empower.
Absolutely.
And I think we can have a really good conversation.
I know we can. Look how good this one was. It was so good. Let me see if anyone has any questions for you before we go, because I have one more question for you, beautiful Stephanie. All right, y'all. Let me just refresh because sometimes they'll be out there and I didn't refresh. We want to thank the ladies that chimed in.
Mhm.
Beverly, Cecily, and Toxalina. I think, and I apologize if I did not get that correctly. She said she is tuned in. Awesome. One last question before we get out of here. So I've been asking a lot of questions, and so my final question is, do you have any questions for me?
Well, of course, I have a question for you. What really inspired you to create this platform to allow coach? Because I love what you said about creating a platform so that those who were called to serve their people will be able to hear their voice. Right. That's so unselfish.
Oh,
What called you to do that?
it's just how it's one of the ways that I show up in the world. I know that I'm a connector, and
Mm,
the vision that I've been given when I first heard it, I was sitting in church And the church that I belonged to at the time, very small church in Las Vegas, and I had been used to being in a mega church. And when I moved to Vegas, it was like, no, that's not the direction we're going in. And it was just this little small church. And the pastor was sharing one day how the church was a bridge
Mm.
to for other people to kind of come and get what they need. They walk all over us and all the things. And I knew instantly that's what I do. I'm a bridge to connect people to random acts of love, information, and resources one heart at a time. So when I learned that coaching was my calling, because I had at the time been doing it for more than 35 years for free, and I too needed my own life coach. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is a profession? What?
Mhm.
So instantly it became crystal clear that that was my calling. And in order to do it, first I got certified as I was also getting life coaching. I
Right,
started
right.
life coaching. And then as I was going through that, and I had become disconnected from myself. So that's why I was asking, because so many similarities in our stories. And I I went through a rites of passage to connect with who I am and never ever forget who I am again. And that was through Queen Afua's Sacred Women program. It was 12-week rites of passage. I in turn gained a sisterhood and another community in that. And then on that walk, I had signed up for this challenge because I was now starting this coaching practice. I thought I was going to be doing something else first. I also have a food and beverage business, and I thought I was going to be doing that, but I had been called in this direction to pursue the coaching and everything. So I'm realizing, okay, I don't have the capacity to do the food and beverage. So let me lean in over here. And as I was preparing to go to Ascension in LA for my um, rites of passage, I did this I did this challenge. It was called Make Your Money Moves Challenge. Rachel Rogers, Hello Seven
Mm.
Community,
Mhm.
business coaching, all of the things. And she just got me like energized. She got me doing all these things within 5 days. And then there was this offer that was made, and I signed up to be in her community, and it came with a ticket. I got to go to ROI, which was the very first business conference that was put on by a Black woman, like nothing you'd ever seen. And it was in Puerto Rico. Well,
Mhm.
mind you, it was like 3 days before I needed to be in LA for Ascension. So I'm like, how am I going to pull this off? Because something is pushing me to be there, right?
Mhm.
And I knew when I went there with intention that if she offered business coaching, that I was getting in line. I didn't care how
Mhm.
much it cost. I was doing it. And sure enough, on that last day of the conference, and I needed to fly from Puerto Rico and get to LA so I wouldn't miss my ascension, because I had been planning that for like 14 weeks. So it was like, man, so I did that. I signed up. She put the call out, and when she put the call out, because it was her first certification coaching program, right, around business, she told us to stand up. So we all stood up. There probably was about 200 of us. And she said, look at that seat where you were sitting, because that was the old you. And like electricity
Mm.
went through my body.
Wow.
So mind you, I sign up, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this kind of short. I get to New York. The first person I see is my Sacred Woman mentor. They call her. It's a Sacred Woman practitioner. And so I'm telling her this story, how I didn't just signed on the line, and I don't have buyer's remorse, and I believe this is the path that I'm supposed to walk. And she tells me she went to high school with Rachel.
What?
Tells me Rachel is the real deal.
Wow.
All that in less than 24 hours happened.
Wow.
And I just knew that was like where I was supposed to be in my calling. And I did that because I am called to serve women that have not live their own lives. They put everybody before them on their own selves, and they've got these dreams and missions and
Mhm.
visions and desires that they are supposed to birth. And so I'm called to serve the whole woman in life and in business.
Mm.
Help her get her shit together, right? So that she can go out and be in the world. And so one of the strengths when I decided that, okay, what can I do while I'm still getting this training is conversation,
Yes.
being that bridge and bringing people together. So that was it's a long way to get to the answer. And so I knew while I was training and everything, the way that I could best show up is I love having deep conversations.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I might be what's an introvert and an extrovert because I'm certain I'm her. I'm certain I'm her. And because there are times when I need to go inward. I'm very introspective. I'm constantly wanting to understand what is there. And I'm very intrigued and curious about the human experience,
Mhm.
just like you. Like, what we talking about? Well, what happened next? Well, why did you do that? You know? So I love having a good conversation. This has been very edifying for me. So I thank you for being here. I really look forward
Thank
to
you.
when
Thank
I'm
you. Thank you. Thank you. This is
anything else before we go to tell the people.
no, I just appreciate all those that have tuned in live and those that listen in on the replay. Drop your comments or questions, even dropping them there. I will come back and I'll answer anything that you have, and I enjoy the conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, disruptors. We love you. And so take good care of yourself until next time. You're going to check Stephanie out on the Quiet Impact podcast or quietimpact.com. Is that the website?
Quietimpact.com, quietimpactpodcast.com.
Quietimpactpodcast.com. We'll have all the deets in the description of this video. So like it. If you love what we've been talking about, make sure you subscribe. Stephanie's podcast link will be there as well. So go check her out. And we
And
thank
share her podcast. Like share the podcast, these conversations that Selena has. Share it with other people in your life. That's how we create a ripple in the world. Is
absolutely.
taking the goodness, the positivity, the vibe, the energy. We are the change that the world needs to see. So as you hear this, share it, and like this, just share it out. Doesn't have to be mine. She has amazing guests on here. And you hear one, it resonates. You know someone that needs it. Share her podcast out to other people. I encourage y'all to do that.
Well, thank you, beautiful sister. That's marketing spirit in you. I appreciate it. Until next time, you all, we'll be back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. I can't recall if I have a guest, so you'll have to stay tuned. If